one of the most common plumbing questions I get at work is about water pressure. It usually involves the hot water side. The hot water side, I don't have water pressure. So the questions you need to ask yourself, and some of these things you can't solve yourself unless you're really handy, but first ask yourself, is the water pressure, the hot water pressure, is it just at one sink or is it all over the house? If it's just at one sink, or in a bathroom, like the kitchen sink or the bathroom sink, it could just be the aerator and has sediment in it. But what you would also notice is that then the water pressure would be down on the cold side as well. So if it's both, it's one of these, and same thing in the shower, although in shower we're tending to use hot water. So it can be the shower head, and if it's just limited to one fixture, it's obviously right there. You could take the shower head off, replace it, or if it's one you can't get, maybe it's a rain head or you just can't get it off, you can take a bag of vinegar and just put it over and zip tie it, and that will clean it out pretty good and really improve the pressure. Now, if it's the hot water and it's just the hot water and it's throughout the house, generally it's going to come back to here, the water heater. And there's various reasons why. And the funny thing, I have this rubber mallet because I read one time online, I was doing a little research. They said, if you take a rubber mallet and that'll help break up the sediment, which is kind of stupid. But you know what? It makes you feel like you're doing something. But don't swing it too hard, you may hurt your arm. So this will do nothing. So I'm going to throw that over there. So the heater itself, I will say that as the sediment comes out of the heater, especially if there's a 90-degree angle coming out, sometimes that as we call it, the boogers, gets caught right there. This one goes straight up. And sometimes a plumber or you, if you're handy, you just have to replace that elbow. And that elbow is like that sediment, and it's rock solid, and it just gets in that elbow, and you can replace it. Sometimes it's more complicated than that. In a really older home, the sediment can kind of start lining itself, and they might have to replace more and more. Sometimes it's the heater itself, because if we don't have a softener in the house, the sediment starts to build up. You ever hear that popping noise that comes out of your heater? Well, what that is, there's a calcium shelf there, a sediment shelf, and as the heat goes through it, it's making that popping noises. But what it's also doing is reducing the amount of capacity of your heater itself. So if the heater is starting to age and you don't have a softener, it might be as simple as replacing the heater itself. So you have to kind of diagnose it, and sometimes on an individual, like the kitchen, let's say go back to the kitchen faucet, and it's just the kitchen faucet, and the hot water is fine everywhere else. Well, it might be the valve underneath the sink. A washer could have come loose in it and is blocking the hot water. And so there's all different reasons. Some of them you can diagnose yourself. Some of them you're going to have to get a plumber, and there's a lot of great plumbers around that can help you out. But you don't have to live with it. You can certainly have someone take care of it for you. I think one of the least expensive things that you can do to change the look of your home is a fresh coat of paint. It really makes a big difference. And right now in the doldrums of winter, this is a great time to really get that project going. But it has to be done right? If it's sloppy, then it can kind of mess things up. So I always recommend starting with, all the paint companies have great brochures. Yes, they have these huge boards of colors, but if we're not used to picking colors and we're not professionals, I kind of always start here, because this is where the best-selling and the most popular colors are. So first thing, there's always kind of funny stuff. This is the color handbook from Ben Moore. Remember what I was doing there. And it talks about setting the mood and evaluating the space. And it does have some good points. Some of it's kind of a little bit goofy, but not a bad read. And then when you go, off-whites, if you want to play it safe, they have the best off-whites, and they have them in combos. That's the important things. You have trims and you have wall colors. So you're safe. You know that a professional color expert has picked those colors for you. And even if you want to go a little one way or the other, at least you have a base to start on. Then you can go to the color board. This one right here, this is their favorites. This is their best-selling colors of all time. So that's not a bad, that's 95 colors that are the top selling, the top used colors. We have interior combinations if you want to be a little more bold, and you'll see, so you get some depth in some of the colors. But at least now when you see those little groups, you can go, no, somebody expert looked at that. And more important, the 2025 color trend. I know, you've been waiting for this, I know it. And it's kind of terrifying, quite honestly, because they're calling it something else, but it looks like mauve to me. I think that's a push. I'm against this, all right? I'm not ready for mauve to come back. All right, so let's get down to the paint, and let's get down to your house. What is your house like? Does it look like there's been a bar fight in let's say you're doing a bedroom. Has there been a bar fight in there? So on the walls, if the surface is rough or has, it's just worn out, get flat. Flat hides the most. All right, so it will hide more imperfections than anything. So stick with flat. If the walls are in good shape, you can use a matte finish that just adds a little bit of depth and a little bit, not much of a sheen, but there's a richness to the color that you don't get with flat. But the more that you go up in a sheen color, the more the imperfections are gonna show. So some people will use eggshell on the walls, and that's great, but the walls need to be good because there's a little bit of sheen, like an egg, that can show those imperfections. Same thing with the trim. The trim, if it's all beat up, I would use satin in a trim, and then semi-gloss if it's in pretty good shape. So make sure you use the very best rollers and brushes. Take your time, do the prep, fill the holes, stand out the rough spots, and I'm telling you what, for not very much money, you will make a big impact on your home. Well, today we talk about the joy of a fireplace. Whether it's a gas log or whether it's wood burning, it's a thing of enjoyment for your family, but also something to make sure that you maintain. Now, it hasn't been great fireplace weather yet, but it is getting colder now, so it might be time to start throwing a log on the fire. Now, I actually have we have a gas fireplace now because I set the house on fire with a toaster about 10 years ago, so all things fire make me a little jumpy. But so I got a nice remote on it, and I just turn it on in the morning, and it's beautiful, and that's what I like. It works well for me. We watch around here can get a little bit hot, so we have the grandkids over, we just don't have it on. So I like to kind of play it safe. But if you have a wood burning fire, that you have to kind of maintain it a little more. And the number one question, how often should I have a chimney sweep come out? And that question, it's not a number of years as much as it is, how much wood are you burning? I mean, if you're burning a lot, you need to have it inspected once a year. If you're just burning at Christmas or, a few times a year, if you had it done, you probably can wait a few years. People ask me this question all the time because this is sold as seen on TV. It's a creosote log, and you put that in there and it completely cleans your fireplace. Probably not. Now, does it do something? I don't know, but this is not a replacement for having your chimney inspected by a professional. So just remember that as seen on TV. And they're saying this is a gas log cleaner if you have a gas log cleaner. There's glass cleaner to get rid of the soot and different things. And then the inspection that you can do for yourself is, now if I had a firebox, looking at the masonry on the inside of the box and looking for any cracks. And that's something you can do yourself because there's a caulking tube of firebox masonry cement, and you would just fill those gaps. You can actually look up the flue, and what you're looking for, the danger part is, you're looking for creosote, which is shiny, hard deposits. And if you see that, that's when you need to get a professional involved, because that's what can start a fire. Always recommend not building the roaring fire that sometimes we all like to build, because as those flames can go up into the chimney stack, that's when a fire can happen. Like throwing paper, like around Christmas time, the wrapping paper going in, that's not a good idea. The real, Three Stooges thing is somebody trying to burn the tree, a dried tree in there and shoving it in there piece by piece, and you get this huge flame, and that you can really do a lot of damage to your home. So enjoy it, but don't just use some common sense. Don't have a fire, don't go to bed when there's a fire. I would also make sure I have a good screen or glass doors that I can shut off, because one problem with a wood burning fire, it is the ambiance of it, but it's really, if there's no cover on it, it's kind of sucking the heat. So it's not really adding, it's for ambiance. It's not really, an open burner is not for saving any money on your heating bill. But enjoy it, be careful. Who doesn't love a fireplace?